The middle child. Let's talk about it today on the Half a Day Show.
Is this camera on me?
I hope so.
So today I wanted to talk about the middle child and sort of what that means. And in order to cover this topic, I wanted to bring a special guest onto the episode today. Got my guy, Phil.
What's up, man?
Host of the Positive Philter podcast, consultant, higher education man, a lot of different things. Overall, great person, somebody I look up to. I don't know if you know that.
No, just size.
Yeah, what else? Yeah, no. Really excited to have him on the show. We got a good conversation going, and we got a lot of things that we want to talk about. I wanted to know, how did you get to where you're at? You know, I think, I don't want to tell on you and tell your age, but, you know, you're 38.
Damn. I'm sorry.
You know, you're right at the middle.
Yeah.
And you came up to me with this idea of the middle child. So if you wanted to talk about sort of what that means and how you got to where you're at, you're doing very well for yourself. Family started, everything's going well, and you're in your doctorate program.
Yeah.
So
My name is Phil Wilkerson. I work at George Mason, where Jordan went, which is really, a place that I feel included and inspired. I'm a Northern Virginia native, and I say that because I'm a military brat and lived all over, but for a significant portion of my life, my dad was stationed here. Both my parents, actually, my mom's military as well. And so I had the good fortune of going to Mount Vernon, which is a local high school, Mount Vernon. And, a lot of military brats don't have that experience to stay through middle school and high school, but I was. So I get to have those formative years and here and live here and really claim Virginia as my home. So as you said, I like to always say that besides working at higher ed, I'm a husband, a father of 2 boys. I actually, also live with my mother-in-law, and we can get into that too, just briefly about that story. But how did I get here? So I went to 2 colleges. I went to Bowie State first.
Okay.
Because my grades weren't that great, and also I used to be a lot skinnier and run track. So I was on a track scholarship at Bowie. But my goal was to always go to James Madison.
Okay.
I was waitlisted. And so I met my girlfriend, then now turned wife, just at that pivotal point while I'm into freshman year at Bowie State. And so she would always be like, all right, if you want to be with me, go to the library and all this stuff. And so I actually made Dean's List at Bowie all the semesters, and I transferred 2 years. So I did 2 years at Bowie, and then I transferred to JMU, which was an exciting time. I already knew a lot of people there. JMU was like Northern Virginia 2.0, all like everyone from like different high schools around there. So it was a great experience. I lived with a very close friend. And then, so I'm just fast forwarding real fast and condensing it.
So let me back up though. How'd you pick your school though?
How'd I go to JMU?
Yeah, how'd you pick JMU?
Okay, so this is, that's why I could go on tangents. So when I was in the 8th grade, going into the 9th grade, my parents signed me up for, it was called the African American Male Academy.
Okay.
It was a overnight stay away camp at JMU with like camp counselors. Come to find out, this is all like God's plan, weird thing. The director of it was Dr. Byron Bullock, who was like basically the director of their equivalent of ODOT. Like It was called CMIS, which don't ask me, a multicultural center or something. And so he had this camp for Black men at JMU, and all the camp counselors were students, Black male students.
That's lit.
What is Brother Byron? Oh, I just gave it away. Brother Byron Bullock, surprise, it was an alpha. All the camp counselors were alphas, like student alphas. And I like reconnected with a few of the brothers, and they were like, yeah, I was your camp counselor. Did you know? I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Wow.
But the point is, when I went to that camp over the summer, that's like, it was awesome. Like, you got to stay on campus. And for me, that was like college. It shaped my mind. Like, I didn't think, like, when I thought of college, like JMU, and I remember the dorms and all that. So I always thought of JMU, like, even from freshman year to going to, I thought, wow, someday I'd like to go back there. But, life happened. I also kind of messed around a lot in high school and didn't have the grades, I was always smart. Like, I was an IB program, but I was also like, if it didn't excite me, I didn't care. Or I was like the high achiever, underachiever at the same time. Like, like the things I wanted to do, and like, I got A's. Right. The things I probably was like C's. Like, so my GPA wasn't terrible. It was like it was a 3.32, but they looked specifically at my my junior year. And like I said, once again, like English, history, A's. This like IB science was like C, barely. So Bowie State was a wake-up call. I got my grades together, and then I was able to go there to JMU. And because I changed and switched majors, instead of doing 2 years, I had to do 3. So I did 2 years at Bowie and super senior 3 years. I graduated, and I'm going to condense it because this is really my Mason story. I graduated with a history degree, did not know what I wanted to do, moved back home with my parents in Alexandria, literally didn't do any preparation, didn't do any career services, didn't do any what is going to be after college. And I was just at home. And very fortunately for one of my career, one of my closest friends, Justin Bell, had a job at a school for children with special needs, autism down called Alternative Paths Training School, which is in Alexandria.
Right.
And you got bit and kicked. We were basically like they call them behavior facilitators, but we were instructional aides. We were basically the teachers' aides. So they would try to do instruction, and we would really just get our ass whooped, pardon my language, like biting, kicking, and all that.
Good.
So, but fortunately, my friend Justin worked there, and it was literally like the floodgates of just, he got a job. My best friend Hiller got a job. His older brother got a job. He like put us all these black dudes getting put at this, and it was there. I was like, man, this ain't it. Like, I got to do so. I like education. That started at, but I don't want to work here that long. It's a burnout. So I was like, I like education. I like helping students. I like, just the school walk. It's like I always just like the social aspect of school.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'll be a school counselor because I didn't want to be a history teacher. And did my quick, I guess, Google search, whatever, internet. And I was like, counseling. And I saw George Mason's program for a master's in counseling. And guess why I went to George Mason?
You said guess when or
Guess why?
Why?
Because they didn't ask for a GRE.
What would you say is one of the biggest challenges Black people specifically might encounter when trying to get into early career or early higher education, anything like that? Or even like for your own experience, what was one of those hurdles you had to overcome to get to where you are?
I don't feel like I got it there or there yet. So still maybe this thing would be something I'm still ever growing. But I think it's just very simple. It's that still predominantly you're going to go into spaces where you're not the majority, or you're going to go to spaces where there's not many people that look like you or think like you, or I don't know, just vibe. Like you can see me turn it on. Like I could be like, hello, my name is Philip Wilkerson and whatever. And then I could dap up students and say what's good and just feel like I'm navigating two worlds, right? That kind of that W.E.B. Du Bois, right? The two spirits mindset.
Thanks.
And so I think that is just a continuous thing, right? Like as you enter the workforce, you feel it. But then as you enter the workforce and go up in leadership, you feel it probably even worse because I think the pyramid of people that look like you get smaller and smaller, right? Like,
and that's one of the things
hard.
That sort of turns me off from like entering into those leadership spaces, like, because I don't really want to be like, the only one that's there, or I don't really want to have to deal with, those higher managers and having them sort of side eye me like, what is this guy doing here? Like, and it's not necessarily like, that I don't have the qualities of a leader or the ability to do those things. But, it's like sometimes you just want to collect your check and do the things that you're passionate about outside of work. And it's really difficult. It's a lot of stuff like that in government. I won't say that government work isn't good work. It is great work, pays well. And, the opportunities are tremendous. But it's like, you face a lot of bureaucracy. One of my first jobs was working in the Pentagon. And there's no bigger bureaucracy than the Pentagon. Everything is, top down, reach your chain of command. It really feels just like the military, honestly. But, you face a lot of very difficult bosses to work for. And one of those things that I strive for, if I ever get into those leadership positions, is not to be like, the bosses that I had before. My current employer, like my current project lead, great guy. Like, I really like him. I like the way that he leads our team. So it's like you emulate the people that you have worked with or worked for. So I think that's one of the things that is really just fighting or navigating that urge to enter positions of leadership. I think that's a challenge that, you know, as a Black man, I've faced. But like sometimes not everybody faces that. What do you think?
I think it's industry by industry.
It depends where you're at.
Yeah, just but like let's say industry by industry. I'm gonna say like government, very comparable that as you go up, less people of color. I mean, we think about, you know, how progressive education is, but education is probably very similar. Like if you literally just go down and look at, you know, department chairs or deans or just anything as you go up, it's also the rooms get smaller and less diverse. So I always tell people, young people, is that like, one, don't let it deter you from entering those spaces, because you need to be in those spaces, because eventually you're gonna like I used to do with the movies, which is bad. I'd go in the movie theater, I'd go to the back door, kick the door open, my friends come in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you get free movie. That's a bad analogy, but the point is we need people to like, it's almost get in those spaces and put other people on and continue to do that in a variety of industries. And so I'd say the ways to combat that difficulty or that only spaces is two things I would say is find people that are going up in that ladder. Maybe you're not in government, but just, and you know, like other Black professionals to kind of commiserate over and motivate you. So you might be the only in that little space, but you're not the only in that community. And you feel like, okay, I can vent to someone. That's one. Or I would say, as you enter those spaces, do things or try to put systems in motion that the person coming behind you doesn't feel that.
What do you think is more valuable, experience or education?
Nah, it's one of those like, what's that? How do you do it? Like, if it was like balancing wise, I think you need both. Right? You can't have one that's way like so much education and no experience, and then on the inverse, you can't have all this experience and no credential things. So I feel like you need to find that really good equilibrium. So like one is not more than the other. I think if you have way more on both ends of the spectrum that polarize, it's gonna be harmful. So you need to have an equitable balance. Like you need to like, the degree or certificate or whatever it is basically branding to say, I have this knowledge base, I learned this skill, right? So that's good. But at the same time, if I only have this piece of paper and I don't know, like I can't explain to an employer that I have experiences using it out the classroom, then that don't help either. Right. So you need to have both. And if you have either one, way too much of either, you're going to be hurting.
That is true. So now let's put that middle child lens on it. You know, your parents, my parents are older, grandparents, you know, that generation, they would always say education. That's what they forced to us, you know, growing up 90s, late 80s. Everybody needed to go get a degree so you could get a good paying job. Take it a step further. Now you're looking at the people younger than us. You see that we have that enrollment cliff that we're talking about because the education payout isn't really paying out how it's supposed to, how it was promised. And now a lot of young people are looking into entrepreneurship. How do you think that they would see that conversation of experience versus education? Because everybody I know is, you know, let's go get certs. We don't need to go to college anymore.
No, you literally, okay. So I was about to say that I think a lot of education spaces are going to like go to like almost like a la carte education, right? Like,
wow, that's a
a la carte education. Like, okay, we you know, to keep up, we're going to, there is going to be an expansion on graduate certificate offerings. There's also going to be an expansion on non-traditional learning, like adult learners coming back and getting certificates or their employer paying for it, to combat like all the organizations that are doing it already, like the Amazon getting their own certificate, their Google's having their own certificate. So that's going to be a real thing. But still, regardless, even if you just get your name slapped on some certificate, if you cannot actually do it or actually show experiences where you utilize it, it's not going to work. So for that young entrepreneur, like, I think the main thing that's going to speak to them is like,
is
okay,
it tested? Is it proven?
Can you have someone say, okay, yeah, I got this UX design cert, but I built a website. I did this, and this. So, you can go the fast route and say, I'm an entrepreneur, forget college and start hustling. But you're still going to have some form of tangible evidence to show that you're skilled in that. And if you're maybe the entrepreneur part could be like, you know, your customers or clients vouch for you or whatever, like, but you're gonna have to have tangible things. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta build skills, man. You just can't say I'm good at something. No one's just gonna take your word for it.
That is true. Back to being the middle child.
Yes.
That's not just really a education or professionalism thing. Middle child syndrome, coin it. That carries over onto all facets of life. When you're talking about like fun stuff, family, relationships, what have you. What does that look like as a middle child, with family, balancing like your personal activities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As me, I think I suffer from it early middle child syndrome.
You're creeping on it.
I'm creeping on it. I ain't an old head just yet, but I've always been old spirited.
Yeah.
It was like, there's certain things that I just won't do. Or like, yesterday we was at a cookout and, it's 9 o'clock.
You ready to go to bed?
I can't do the circuit anymore. I can't do the marathon anymore.
No.
Once I'm tired, I want to go home and sleep.
Yeah.
That's why I don't let nobody drive me anywhere. Cause it's like, I want to go home when I want to go home.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the king of that. King of the, what's that, Iris X?
My boy was talking about, it was on U Street till 5.
No thanks. No thanks.
I'm quick to Uber home.
No thanks. No thanks. I don't even see that. Like, there's not, well, my dad used to tell me even before I was going out, he's like, son, nothing good happens between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. talking about trouble, right? I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's kind of right. Like, things pop off at night. But what I mean by middle child, I think it coined it, but J. Cole did it very well in his song about how, he's still like the old school rapper with the lyrics, but he also appreciates he's not going to be like that old guy that's like, get off my porch, music sucks now. Like he's like, I appreciate the new artists coming up. They got different talent and I appreciate the old head. And that's usually the same mindset, right? Like we have this, like, I'm still in this generation where like I can talk to old heads and they just like really, they're like, they don't know it. And they're like really negative toward the new generation. And then like, I'm in the middle, like, but I appreciate some of the things that the younger kids are doing, but also at the same time, I show deference and respect because they also have a lot of wisdom. So I'm in the middle, like almost sometimes like managing conflict, like listen to the old heads, but like old heads, listen to the youth, like connect.
So it's funny, actually. I saw it. It's crazy. It really aligns sometimes. Twitter, if you didn't exceed your rate limit for the day of 600 tweets.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Elon Musk.
That guy.
He's tripping.
So I saw a tweet. It says, no, what's your I'm with the boomers on this one tweet? And, it's a bunch of people like, repeating some of those old philosophies that you get from your grandparents, your parents.
Okay, I didn't look that up.
Aligned with. What's one of those for you?
Oh, man, that's good. Oh, snap. Wow. I gotta think of it. Okay, with the old heads, this is one thing I really agree with the old heads, is that young people are such microwave culture. They think they can get everything now. Old heads is like, yo, things that are great take time. I agree with that one a lot. Like everyone's like, yo, even creativity, like I do something creative. Why is it not hitting? Why am I not getting likes and all that stuff? And old heads can care less. You ever follow an old head on,
I got a few.
Follow an old head on Facebook.
They don't care. It'd be one view, one person.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. Their personality doesn't, their sense of wealth or self-worth, they don't care. They'll be on live. It'd be like two people, and they'd be like, oh, my man's here. They do not care. Yeah, they do not care. And then the young generation be like, yo, they think that's detrimental. They're like, I heard someone was like, yo, if I don't get the likes I want in the first hour, I delete the post.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
I was like, let that joke ride. So I'm in the middle. So that's it. So that's young people. That's the only, It takes patience. And what I mean by with social media or anything creative is like, you got to build an audience over time. Like it doesn't happen overnight and they get it.
And we celebrated 3 years this year. We're going hard. 3 years of the half of day show.
See?
It's been a year.
And you attract and you get better.
Get better.
And maybe you get people that randomly walk up to you and say, I listened to your show, or like I got connected through someone at Mason.
Exactly.
You built it over time.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, like when I did my podcast, like I'm not big. I'm not a big person in the podcast world because I think I'm like the old heads where I don't care. I was just going to do it for me anyway.
So this is where it started from. It started as something I just like to do.
For me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the microwave. I think that's it. But then on the other end, I think if we can go opposite, I think some of the things that I appreciate with the young people is like they do not wait for permission from anyone to start.
Yeah.
Or like I've been in meetings with old heads and they want to how like prepare for things. I'm like, stop this paralysis by analysis and over thing and just do it.
Yeah.
Just get a camera and figure it out, tinker.
Sure is.
Like they're scared to tinker with technology. So like, and I'm in the middle. So I'm like, I just love doing this. And then also appreciate like building an audience takes time. So like, you just got to listen to both.
What's one bit of advice you want to give for, young professionals, young educators, young Black men, young people, and as the middle child, the generation behind you, what's one thing that you would say to them as they're trying to navigate similar spaces or just life in general?
Do not wait to create. Like, don't ask for permission. Don't get paralysis by analysis. Just use your skills, be creative, and go. And then on the inverse, the advice I give you too, though, is as you do that, as you do not wait to create, as you do not have, the fear of being perfect and go, understand that the fruits of your labor are not going to come right away and have to be patient. So it's both. Like, be impatient with starting, get started, do it, be consistent and do it. But on the inverse, don't think you're going to be immediately successful. Don't think that it's immediately going to pop or hit. Or even if it doesn't, have the vision, like you don't have 1,000 followers, whatever, that don't minimize that you're still making forward progress. Either you're more skilled than you were when you started, or two, you still have an influence on others that you will never see. So those are my two advice. Don't wait to create, but be patient with the process. Trust the process.
Well, that's the middle child. And this is Positive Phil, host of the Positive Philter podcast. Go follow him on Instagram. Shout yourself out, man.
Yeah, Positive Philter on all platforms. But then my normal Instagram is illphil500. And then I guess my Twitter is Philip_W3. And then, like I said, follow me on LinkedIn too. That's a professional thing. So that's another one. Young people have that. If you want to have your Finsta and your fake accounts, do that. But also have a serious LinkedIn account to connect with other professionals.
For sure. So as always, this has been an episode of Half of This Show, bringing you education, entertainment, and everything in between. We'll see y'all next week.